They say the best love stories start in the most unexpected ways. But mine didn't just start unexpectedly, it ended in the most unthinkable way too. I was just a girl trying to get home. He was just a guy being kind. But neither of us could have imagined where one simple ride would lead. This is the story of how I found the man of my dreams, only to learn he was someone I was never meant to love. I hadn't planned to be out that late. My day had already taken a turn for the worse earlier that morning, the kind of day that starts with a spilled coffee, a missed bus, and a phone battery that somehow dies before noon. So when I found myself stranded on the side of a narrow, quiet road just as the sun was beginning to slip below the horizon, all I could do was laugh. Not because it was funny, just because the alternative was to cry. There was barely any signal and I had no charger. I'd stayed late helping a coworker with some paperwork at a nonprofit office just outside town, and by the time I made it out, the last bus had already come and gone. I tried walking toward the main road, hoping to catch a cab or find a friend's place nearby, but I was nowhere near anything familiar. It was one of those in-between places, too far from downtown, too far from the suburbs. Just long stretches of cracked sidewalk, fences, and old trees that creaked when the wind pushed through them. The sky was dimming fast. The air was cool enough to raise goosebumps on my arms, and my flats weren't doing me any favors on the uneven ground. I kept walking, trying to shake off the growing unease settling in my stomach. That's when I heard a car slowing down behind me. I turned instantly alert. Silver sedan. Newer model. Clean. The headlights washed over the edge of the road and the window rolled down halfway. "Hey," came a voice. Calm. Friendly. Male. "You all right?" I hesitated. He had a face that made you do a double take, not just because he was handsome, he absolutely was, but because there was something open about him. He didn't look like trouble. Neatly trimmed beard, strong jawline, a dark button-up rolled at the sleeves. Casual, confident, not pushy. "I'm fine," I said cautiously. "Just stranded. Need a ride somewhere? I don't live far. I can drop you wherever." I took a breath. Every rule I'd ever been told played through my head. Don't get into cars with strangers, always call someone, trust your instincts. But something in my gut wasn't screaming. In fact, it was quiet. Curious. And he waited. Didn't pressure. Didn't lean toward the door. Just waited. I glanced at the darkening road behind me, then at him. Through it. "I promise I'm not a serial killer," he added, half laughing. I smirked and opened the door. Inside, the car smelled faintly like cologne and something warm, leather maybe. Not overpowering. Just lived in. His phone sat on the dashboard, a playlist running low in the background. Something mellow. I slid into the passenger seat, and he pulled back onto the road like this was nothing out of the ordinary. "I'm Jordan," he said after a minute. "Nice to meet you, Jordan," I replied. "I'm Maya." He smiled at the road, then glanced at me. "Maya. Pretty name. Thanks. Where to?" I gave him my neighborhood. He nodded. "That's actually not far from where I'm headed." We lapsed into silence for a moment, the good kind, not awkward, not stiff, just quiet. Comfortable. I stared out the window, watching the way the streetlights flickered past, and for the first time that day, I felt like maybe I could finally relax. He broke the silence first. "Rough day." "Very," I said with a sigh. "I don't even know how I ended up here. Just one thing after another." He chuckled. "Yeah. I had one of those last week. Coffee machine exploded. Whole office smelled like burnt plastic and caramel for days." I laughed. And just like that, the heaviness began to lift. Conversation flowed easily after that. We talked about random things, our favorite movies, songs we'd overplayed too many times, the weirdest things that had happened at our jobs. It didn't feel like small talk. Felt like something else. When we reached my street, he pulled up slowly, glanced at my building, then back at me. I hope this wasn't a one-time thing, he said, half grinning. I raised an eyebrow. You mean picking up strange women off the side of the road? He laughed. No. I mean, meeting you. I bit my bottom lip. Well, you do have my name now. And I know where you live. That counts for something, right? Creepy, but true. He reached for his phone. Mind if I get your number? I gave it to him. And when I stepped out of that car, I had a feeling in my chest I hadn't felt in a long time. Excitement. Anticipation. Like something had just started, something real. I didn't know it then, but that ride would change everything. And not in the way I ever could have imagined. The first text came that same night. Simple. Direct. Got home safe. Couldn't stop thinking about that smile. Hope I didn't come off too eager. I smiled when I read it. I waited 10 minutes before replying. Not because I needed time to think, but because I didn't want to seem like I'd been staring at my phone, though in truth I had been. That one text turned into 3. Then 5. Then a quiet call the next evening that lasted for over an hour. Nothing deep at first, just voices in the dark talking about everything and nothing. But even through the phone I could feel it, that same unexplainable ease I'd felt in the car. Jordan was the kind of man who made silence feel safe. Didn't take long for the first date to happen. A week, maybe less. He picked me up again, just like the first night, and I wore a black dress that I hadn't found a reason to wear in months. He noticed. You clean up nice, he said. So did he. The restaurant was small and warm, tucked between 2 brick buildings downtown. Candles flickered low on every table, and it smelled like garlic, fresh herbs, and soft red wine. Kind of place people linger in. We didn't rush. We ate slowly, shared stories, laughed until we forgot we were technically strangers. I told him about my old writing journal, the one I kept hidden under my bed. He told me about his dream of opening a bookstore cafe someday. The way he looked at me when I talked, like every word mattered, I hadn't had that in years. He didn't check his phone. He didn't glance around the room. He was just there. Fully. And when we stepped outside into the cool night air, he brushed my hand with his. I'd like to see you again, he said. And I told him I'd like that too. One date turned into 2. Then into whole weekends spent together. We'd cook simple meals, argue playfully over movie genres, sit shoulder to shoulder on the couch under one blanket. Sometimes we didn't even need to speak. It was enough just to be near him. I found myself picking up things at the store for us, snacks he liked, coffee I knew he preferred. I started learning his habits. The way he rubbed the back of his neck when he was thinking. The way he always checked his reflection in the car window before stepping out. He left his toothbrush at my place one weekend and never took it back. That's how it begins, I guess. Not with some huge moment, but with the small things. The comfort. The softness. I started looking forward to hearing his key in my door. And every time he reached for my hand, I found myself holding it tighter. Felt easy. Felt right. Felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. I didn't question it. Not yet. By the 3rd month, there was no denying it. We were in it. Fully. Kind of relationship where weekends melt into each other, where waking up next to him felt more natural than waking up alone ever had. We had routines now. Grocery runs that turned into unplanned late lunches, Sunday mornings with mismatched mugs of coffee and shared playlists. He knew which side of the bed I rolled toward, and I knew he always read news articles out loud when something irritated him. There was no performance between us anymore. No effort to impress. Just honesty. And that's why, when he brought up the idea of meeting each other's families, it didn't feel too soon. Felt like the next step. He mentioned it casually one night, while I was tucked against his chest, the TV casting a warm light across the room. You should meet my mom, he said, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. I smiled. Only if you meet mine. We picked a weekend. Saturday with his family, Sunday with mine. I didn't overthink it. Not at first. Meeting the parents is usually the part where people start to get nervous, but with Jordan I wasn't. I was excited. Curious about where he came from. Eager to show him where I came from, too. His mom lived in a quiet neighborhood about 20 minutes out. The moment we walked in, the house smelled like baked chicken and citrus-scented cleaner. Felt lived in, loved. She was everything I didn't expect. Younger in spirit, sharp in conversation, and clearly adored her son. His sister was a burst of energy. Joking, observant. She eyed me closely but seemed to like me instantly. Dinner was full of stories and laughter. I caught glimpses of the man Jordan had grown into, shaped by the women around him, proud to be theirs and comfortable in himself. It all felt right. I left that night thinking I was lucky. So lucky. I had no idea how fast everything was about to unravel. Sunday felt different. Not bad, just heavier. I tried to ignore it while getting ready, smoothing my hair in the mirror and applying just enough makeup to feel confident. My mom had gone into full hostess mode, roasting chicken, setting the table with the good dishes, opening the windows to let in that early afternoon breeze. My dad kept fidgeting with the old stereo like he always did before company came over, even if the music barely made it past the first song. They were excited to meet him. I could see it in the way my mom rearranged the living room pillows and how Dad asked me for the third time if Jordan liked red wine or white. Till something in my chest felt tight. Jordan picked me up right on time, as always. He looked good, effortless in a blue button-up and that calm, unshakable energy that had drawn me to him from the very beginning. On the drive, he reached over and held my hand, squeezing it gently when we turned onto my street. He told me he was nervous. That made me laugh. He always seemed so composed, like nothing rattled him. I told him he'd be fine, that my parents would love him. We pulled into the driveway and everything looked normal. Trees swayed in the breeze. My dad's car was parked in its usual spot. The front door was already cracked open, a sign that they'd been waiting. We walked in together. First, everything moved in slow motion. Mom stepped into the foyer, drying her hands on a dish towel. Dad stood up from the couch, smile already forming. But then, that smile vanished. Jordan's hands slowly let go of mine. My mom stared, blinked, then looked again, her expression softening into something unreadable. My dad asked one question, a simple one, about Jordan's last name. And when he answered, the room changed. It was as if the walls shifted. The air thickened. And suddenly I felt like I was standing in someone else's life. Their silence wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, slow, and that was worse. 'Cause somehow, without saying much at all, I knew everything was about to fall apart. I don't remember how long the silence lasted. Maybe seconds, maybe longer. But I felt it stretch, thick, slow, unbearable. Jordan shifted beside me, his weight moving just slightly, like he was preparing to speak but didn't know what to say. My mom's hand dropped the towel. My dad's lips were parted, but no words came. The air in the room changed. Not colder exactly, just heavier. Like it wasn't meant to hold this moment. Then my dad finally spoke. Not to Jordan. Not to me. Just out loud. Robert Michaels. Jordan blinked, then nodded. Slowly. My dad's name. My mom sat down like her legs couldn't hold her anymore. Her eyes were locked on Jordan, but her focus had slipped somewhere deeper. My mind was scrambling, trying to connect pieces that didn't seem like they should fit. Michaels. I'd heard that name before. In stories. In photos. Distant relatives we'd never met. A side of the family I was told had moved away. Something old, almost forgotten because no one talked about it. Just fragments. A name on a letter once. A holiday card with no return address. And then it hit me. A family reunion photo from years ago, one I barely remembered. Cousin. A little boy I played tag with in the backyard. He'd moved with his parents to another state and we never saw them again. I never thought about him again. Until now. I sat down across from my parents, hands shaking. Jordan didn't speak. He couldn't. He looked at me like he was seeing me, really seeing me, for the first time. And I looked back, terrified. 'Cause I still loved him. And that was the part one didn't know what to do with. We'd fallen in love without knowing. Without guilt. Without warning. But now? Now the guilt rushed in like floodwater. My mom reached for my hand, her grip trembling. My dad stared down at the floor, not even blinking. Jordan took a breath. I didn't know, he said, voice barely above a whisper. I nodded. Me neither. But knowing didn't make it easier. It made it worse. We didn't say much on the way home. Car ride was filled with the kind of silence that doesn't ask to be broken. Not awkward. Just heavy. Jordan's hands gripped the steering wheel like it was the only thing holding him together. I kept my eyes on the window, watching trees blur past like they might offer a distraction I could believe in. I could still hear my mom's voice echoing in my head, soft and shaken. You two are related. Felt unreal. Like we'd slipped into someone else's story. At my apartment, he parked but didn't cut the engine. The air conditioner hummed faintly between us. I still love you, he said. The words caught me off guard. Not because I didn't feel the same, but because I did, too much. I turned to look at him. His eyes were red, not from tears, but from holding too many back. I know, I whispered. We sat like that for a while. Not touching. Not speaking. Just two people still in love, suddenly told they couldn't be. What are we supposed to do with this? He asked, more to himself than to me. I don't know, I said. I didn't want it to end like this. Neither did I. He looked away, jaw clenched, fighting something inside. I wanted to reach for his hand, but I didn't. I couldn't. The air between us had changed, tainted by a truth we couldn't unlearn. He leaned back against the seat. I thought I had finally found my person. I nodded. So did I. A long pause. Then he reached for the gear shift. I guess this is where we leave it. I swallowed hard. For now, at least. He looked at me one last time and I saw it, all the hope, the confusion, the quiet devastation. I wondered if I looked the same. Then he drove away. And I stood in the fading sunlight, wondering if the love we felt was real enough to survive something this impossible. Or if some love stories are only meant to be almost. 3 weeks have passed. 3 long, confusing weeks where everything has looked the same on the surface, but nothing feels the same beneath it. I still go to work. Still stop by the same coffee shop. Still water the little plant on my windowsill that he once teased for looking like a green mop. But I don't feel like myself anymore. I feel like someone who briefly had a future within reach, then had to let it go. People ask how I've been. I say I'm fine. What else can I say? That I fell in love with someone who made me believe in something again, only to learn we were bound by blood, not by fate? That the story I thought was mine was never allowed to be told? I've gone over it 100 times in my mind, trying to rewrite it, wondering if we missed something, if maybe it could have ended differently, if maybe we could have fought harder. But what do you fight when the truth is in your DNA? I still think about him. The way he looked at me that night. The way his voice cracked when he said he still loved me. The way neither of us had the words to say goodbye properly, because how do you end something that never really had a chance to go wrong? Some days I wake up thinking it was a dream. That I'll check my phone and see a text from him the way I used to. Some quiet good morning that sets the tone for my day. But the screen stays quiet. And the silence is louder than anything he ever said. I still have the hoodie he left behind once. Smells like him, faintly, laundry detergent and cologne. I should return it. I probably never will. I know people would judge us. I've judged myself enough for all of them. But the truth is, love doesn't ask for a background check. It just happens. Fast. Quiet. All-consuming. And sometimes it's too late to unfeel it once the truth arrives. So now I sit with that truth every day, wondering what could have been if things were just slightly different. If love had come without the fine print. And I wonder, if it had been you, what would you have done?